if you think writing documentations is fun, just wait till you try making status effects. A game dev pro tip: if the players aren't crying, you're not trying hard enough. Let me give you some of my wisdom. A burn effect needs to hurt just enough to be annoying, but not enough to make them uninstall. A poison effect, perfect for making sure players remember that one fight for the next 3 hours. And a confusion effect? You mean simulate me trying to talk to anyone outside? Yeah, maybe a bit too much. Every status effect is designed to frustrate, challenge, and if I'm being completely honest, probably ruin someone's day. All in the name of fun, of course. And when the game drops and all of the complaints and balancing requests are rolling in, poof, I'm already gone. It's about time that we talk about status effects. Sword Island, just like any other RPG, has a couple of them to add some flavor to the combat a little bit. As of right now, Sword Island has 8 different status effects. We have Bit Rot, Frostbite, Bleed, Overheat, Overload, Decay, Corruption, and last but not least, which is a secret one, DDoS. It's a little evil on top for one of the bad routes that you can take in the game. Let's keep it at that to avoid spoilers, obviously. Now you can tell that the naming convention that I use is a bit more tech-like. I didn't go with like poison. I called it Bitrot. I didn't go with like fire or flame. I called it overheat. And that's because you saw in the previous video I finished the documentation, so I have more of an idea on like what is the theme of the game, like what is the story, what is the world building looking like in the game. And I think that I should tie everything back to the core idea, which is this like tech digital landscape, the digital realm I call it in the game. It wouldn't make sense for them to experience cold or to experience lightning or something like that. So you have to like change it and like add some cool concepts on top, like overload. You know, data can overload, data can overflow, data can leak, aka bleed. Data can or like machines in general can also overheat. So that's where the naming convention, this is like how the terminology came to be. So now with this introduction, I think we are ready to jump into VR, and I will showcase every status effects, how it looks like, what it does, and how you can avoid it to the best of your ability or something like that. Like a little tips and tricks, little tips and tricks for the newbies out there. Again, every blade art I have right now is just what I currently have. I might add some, I might remove some. This is a devlog for a reason. It's just a devlog. It's not a final product here, okay? So right at the start, I want you to ignore one thing, which is the bloated UI. I'm kind of experimenting with like a quick slot thing where you can like spawn items quickly into your hand. I'm gonna give you a little spoiler. Look at this, a little potion. You'll never know. Okay, can we take a second to appreciate also the new dummy that I have over here? Like hitting enemies is kind of cool, but it gets cruel at a certain point. So I decided to like just make a training dummy, and it also like react to your thing, so it can go like left or right. And if you stop a little bit, the HP or the energy will recharge. So now let's try some of the status effects. Now the status effects are linked to blade arts. So to deal status effects build up, you would have to use a blade art that support that status effect. For example, let's start with something very simple, overheat. So you can see me charging a blade art over here. The sword is glowing, so you just hit it. And you can see the dummy caught on fire technically. And you can see over there that I have overheat buildup. I obviously caused like the overheat to build up very instantly, but that's just because I'm testing, so I have every value dialed up so hard. However, this is not the normal case. You can see that it's causing like overheat or like a burn effect to happen every second, every like 60 frames or so, and it's causing like a -5 damage. You can see like there's also smoke coming out. Whenever that buildup finishes, like it reaches the end, the fire will basically disappear. You can also see that the second you're causing damage to the HP, it's also regenning instantly, because I mean 5 damage is almost nothing. So you have to like go crazy until you actually cause the dummy to give up, which is kind of cool. Now you can see that the effect, whatever it is, will fade away. So I mean the fading away could actually be done smoother, where like the particles fade, they don't just pop out of existence, but this is something to work on later with the polish. Now, one thing to keep in mind, you can stack up to 3 status effects per enemy. So like if you cause 3 status effects to build up, you can't cause a 4th one to build up. You would just be limited to 3 of them. So now I cause, for example, overheat. I can then like charge this one, which will cause like bleed. You can see it's charging. And now I will do like another one. This one is decay. Boop, 3. So now if I try to do another one, what is the sword? Here. If I try to do another one, which is frostbite, you can see I didn't impact it. So you are limited to 3 at a time. Also, the player can only be targeted with 3 status effects at a time. So if you're fighting 3 enemies, every single one of them is dealing like a different status effect for some reason. It means 2 things. 1, I fuck up with the design because that should not happen. But 2, you won't be dealt an extra additional status effects on top of the 3 that you already got. So now that I gave a simple explanation of how the build-up happens and how the status effects kind of work, let's move into a detailed explanation for every single status effects that we got. Welcome to the ad zone, where I share little wins, you know, little thanks here and there for the Patreon. So let's start with that. These are the legendary names for the sponsors that we have so far. We're only getting more and more with time, which is amazing to see. All of the money is obviously going into the channel or into the project, like buying Unity assets. I think the last donations that I got, I literally just took them and bought like a humble bundle with them just to get like all the software assets, which is kind of good that like I can just instantly from Patreon buy 3D models or characters or sound effects. So thanks for that. Know that your money is in good pockets. Good hands. Good hands. And we have scored 1 milestone, 1 win that I would like to share with all of you, which is the wishlist count. We finally reached 3,000 wishlists, which is kind of like more than half of the goal, which was 5,000. So now the goal will be raised up because the bar got raised up. So the goal is now 8,000. I heard that if you reach between 7,500 or 8,000, around that range, whenever the game releases, it will hit the homepage of Steam. Or not necessarily the homepage, but like if someone's browsing VR games, the game will be in there. So thanks again, and enjoy the rest of the video.
So, let's start with the first effect, which is overheat. Overheat is an effect that engulfs the target in flames once buildup is complete, causing continuous damage for as long as the buildup remains. Both players and enemies afflicted by overheat will burn relentlessly, making it a punishing effect that can quickly wear down health. The flames persist until the buildup is reduced, forcing players to act swiftly to extinguish the fire before it consumes them. Overheat is as dangerous as it's persistent, because it doesn't require a full build-up, so the second you get inflicted with it, you start losing health immediately. Moving on to the second effect, which is Frostbite, written with a Y. Frostbite is an effect triggered when build-up reaches its maximum threshold. Upon activation, it freezes enemies in place for a few seconds, leaving them defenseless against attacks. However, when players are inflicted, Frostbite severely slows movement and impacts stamina recovery speed. It will also disable the dashing ability, all for around 25 seconds, making it difficult to dodge or respond to threats. Managing buildup is critical to avoid this debilitating effect, as once it hits, it can quickly tip the balance of the fight. Moving on to the bleeding effect, which is a high-risk status effect that triggers a devastating burst of damage when buildup reaches its maximum threshold. Upon activation, a significant percentage of the target's total HP is lost in an instant, making bleed a dangerous threat that can escalate rapidly in both players and enemies. While it doesn't deal ongoing damage, the sudden HP drop can leave players vulnerable or finish off weakened foes. Controlling buildup is crucial, as ignoring bleed can lead to catastrophic outcomes in a matter of moments. The next effect is Bitrot. Bitrot is similar to Overheat in the sense that it's an effect that saps players' HP over time, as long as any buildup is present. This digital poison continues to harm the player until the buildup is completely cleared, making it a constant threat in combat. Even minor exposure can become dangerous if not dealt with quickly. requiring vigilance to avoid its persistent drain. I think most players will encounter bit rot in swampy areas where it's like a poison valley or something like that, and when you walk into that water or when you get hit with a dagger from a bandit or something, you'll kind of be poisoned by this like digital poison or the venom, you know. After the bit rot comes decay, which is kind of like a leveled up version of bit rot. Decay is a status effect that activates when buildup reaches its maximum. So it requires you to actually like fully build up the effect and then you'll see the effect. It will cause both players and enemies to continuously lose fragments of their HP, calculated as percentage of their total health. This draining effect makes decay exceptionally dangerous. Imagine the bleed, the way it takes percentages of your HP. However, now it happens continuously with every tick. That's what decay technically does. So probably managing or avoiding buildup is essential, as succumbing to decay can lead to a swift and a devastating defeat. Another cool effect is Overload, which is an effect that unleashes destructive energy once the buildup reaches its maximum. When inflicted on enemies, Overload surrounds them with lightning bolts, causing shock damage to nearby foes, and turning them into a living hazards or Tesla towers. However, when a player is affected, Overload prevents the usage of blade arts or the absorption of focus points for around 25 seconds, just like the frost when it comes to the time. So you always have to watch out in an area where you want to use your blade art to avoid this status effects basically, because it will force you or blocks your usage for about 25 seconds. And then we have Corruption, which is a little unique because it only impacts players. Basically you can't inflict enemies with Corruption. Only players can be inflicted, so it's only against you. Corruption is a lethal status effect that guarantees defeat upon maximum buildup. Once triggered, the player is instantly struck down or one-shotted regardless of their remaining HP, making it a status effect to avoid at all costs. Managing buildup is crucial, as even the smallest misstep can lead to a certain defeat, turning Corruption into the deadliest threat on the battlefield. And last but not least, DDoS, which is the opposite of Corruption, as it can only affect the enemies. It works in the same way where it one-shots enemies upon maximum buildup, and it's one of the forbidden status effects, so using it will have consequences that I can't get so much into right now within the game. I'm not sure of the naming yet, because like the name DDoS is still like a placeholder, but it kind of sounds cool as DDoS is a real sort of threat or a curse within the digital world that we actually live in. But we'll see what happens in regards to the name. And this is basically it for the status effects. Thank you for listening and happy debuffing.
So this was it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and of course if you have any feedback, comment, or any more ideas that you would like to see or think or just share in general, feel free to leave it in the comment. I tend to read all of the comments. And let me know what you think in general. Also feel free to join the Discord. We have like a lot of chats in there about very important topics, like would someone love you if you're a worm? You never know. You never know. You never know. I hope you enjoyed this episode and see you guys in the next one.